Hey there, everybody. Still here in Los Angeles. Recap of day 2 of E3. It's 8:30 in the morning here in the East Coast. I'm a little bit tired and I'm a little bit hoarse. I went to another party last night. Went to the Spike TV cocktail hour, and it was more than an hour though. It was several hours. Um, because of course a lot of the Spike TV people, some of them have already started to leave and trickle out, which is what we're expecting to see. Is that not a lot of people are here all 3 days of the show like we are, or like I am basically. Um, and you see a lot of people start to trickle out, and should probably be a little more sparsely crowded on Thursday. So hopefully we'll be able to try and get to the at least Nintendo, because since we've been doing Xbox a lot this week, and I got a little bit of Sony yesterday, which we'll get into in a second. I just want to give a shout out to Prithvi, the creative director of Deadliest Warrior, the game, who kicked my butt. At the very least, though, one of his producers, Carlos, I owned him, having 3 one-hit kills, including a spear right into the eye socket. So, Deadliest Warrior game we already talked about, though. Definitely something you should pick up and look at. But moving on, we're going to take a look at what we did yesterday. And the first thing we did was we went back to Sega. Like I said, we're going to have a couple of pictures for you. Unfortunately, we did not get to talk to anybody from Sonic Colors, but we did talk to somebody from the Conduit. You'll see here there's a couple of the screen from the boss battle that they included. They said there's a lot more boss battles. There's the Leviathan, they've pretty much completely jumped into the sci-fi realm now. There's an Atlantis ship that have aliens and been running everything for forever. But it looks a lot better than it did the first one did. I tore the first one apart. I thought it had a lot of potential and ended up falling flat in its face, partially because, of course, of the huge amount of hype given to it by some people, because there are so few shooters exclusively for the Wii. But I really, really enjoyed what I saw. The Leviathan boss battle was a lot of fun. That's just the first level. So, if you played the first Conduit and you actually got through it, you might want to take a look at the second one. The other game we looked at Sega, which is one that's gotten a lot of hype as well, is Vanquish, which is a third-person shooter. Kind of done in the Gears of War style, I guess. Just kind of running from cover to cover. And it's basically pretty standard like that. It's a cool idea. You're in a futuristic space station. You're mining for materials or whatever, and you get invaded. They didn't give us much more else in the story, but the coolest thing is the weapons and the armor. The weapons and armor basically morph depending on what weapon set you choose. You have your standard weapons that from what we saw, shotguns, assault rifles, heavy machine guns, and whatnot. They didn't get into a lot of detail. This was still being heavily under wraps, of course, being made by the folks from Platinum Games, who also made Mad World and Bayonetta. So hopefully, Sega will have a winner on their hand with that one. As I said before, we also took a look. We got over to the Sony booth, and basically I went over to the Sony booth for one reason and one reason only. DC Universe Online. Of course, this is coming out in the beginning of November of this year. Finally, the heavily delayed DC Universe Online is ready to be shipped. It will incur a $14.99 per month rate. It is an MMORPG after all. And we had a chance to take a look at a couple of characters. A guy basically modeled very much after Batman. And what's interesting is that depending on what your class type is, there's basically 3 main story arcs you can choose. There's a Batman story arc, a Superman story arc, and I guess like a Wonder Woman story arc. If you're a good guy. If you're a bad guy, it goes Joker, Lex Luthor, and whoever the heck Wonder Woman fights. So basically what happens is with these 3 different story arcs, depending on what, if you're a brawler, or a tech guy, or, magic, or heavily, modified, superpowered guy, depends on what story arc you'll end up falling into. So they showed us the Batman one. It looks very good. And once you beat a boss or a sub-boss or a level, the cutscenes are done by Jim Lee. They're all basically stills and done in the comic book panel style, but they're all done by Jim Lee, of course, the famed DC Universe artist. He worked on Hush. Is what he's best known for, most recently known for. Also, in terms of video games, helped with the Batman Rise of Sun Tzu game for the last generation of consoles, which was horrible. So hopefully this will redeem him in the world of video games. But that looks really good. Of course, monthly fees will be incurred. There'll be probably lots of updates as time goes on with it, I'm sure, like most MMORPGs and add-ons or whatever. And I'll probably try and get at least a couple of months in before I have to move on. Moving on, we're going to take a look at what we did at Ubisoft. Ubisoft, of course, showed us a lot of great things over the course of I almost called the Project Natal, the Connect conference and whatnot, and what they're doing. And I did try U-Shape, and we'll have footage of that, and of course full interviews of everything that I've covered and talked about so far up to this point in the trip. Once I get back to New York, once I can sit down and really edit it, you can obviously tell that I'm very stretched, very thin here at E3. So what happens is that in Ubisoft, what I did get a couple of pictures of though was Ghost Recon, which I'm sure everybody's very hyped about. And it looks fantastic. I mean, the graphics are unbelievable. I might say the only thing I'm going to say is that with all the tech and special things they give you, I'm almost afraid it's going to be too easy. I mean, you have stealth camouflage. You have nanotech that basically makes you invisible. You have all these, of course, the classic sniper rifles and assault rifles and those other weapons. There's sat nav, and they tell you where all the enemies are. And basically, it gives you a whole map of where the whole enemies are on the map, wherever you are. There's turrets. Mechanized turrets that you can control, and it's just really it might be over the top in terms of weaponry to the point that it might be too easy in a game, but it does look beautiful. And until I actually get a full demo beyond just the first level, I'm not going to pass judgment just yet. Also, another game we took out was the Shaun White skateboarding game. The screens you're going to see here are from the Wii version. I also saw the PS3 version, the Xbox 360 version, which are much more graphically impressive. And what I probably would recommend for you to get in terms of gameplay and actually trying to beat the story mode. That's right, it's a skateboarding game with a story mode, very similar to if you played the Blob game for Wii, where basically you're going to go around and beautify the world. You live in a very black and white, mundane world, and you have to go around and as you skate, bring life back into the world. But what's the coolest feature is that you can make your own ramps as the world evolves. As you hit certain points, you can make rails and point them which way to go, so you can keep connecting to make one huge giant rail. And there's also special ramps that will build up and down depending on where you go and how you do things. So that's an interesting idea, to kind of, differentiate itself from the pack, So basically, Shaun White skateboarding is a skateboarding game with the Blob. Not bad. We also, I didn't get a chance to get the pictures or get some assets yet, but we did take a look at some stuff from THQ, including this this propaganda of the United Korean Front came from THQ. It's the New Korean Federation. Basically, for the game called Homefront. And if you haven't heard about this game, this is going to be a great war game. Basically, imagine playing Apocalypse Now. Basically, Korea becomes a world power and invades the United States. The West Coast is devastated, including where I'm at right now in Los Angeles. And basically, this is a really cool thing that they gave us. It tells you key phrases like "I will obey" and "immediately done, sir." Of course, as Korea is trying to put out their propaganda and trying to wane away the U.S. resistance. So that was pretty cool. We also saw actually the Blob 2, speaking of the Blob, going back to Shaun White at THQ, and we'll have full interviews and full screens and whatnot and B-roll for you when we get back to New York. So that was pretty much it. That's what we did in day 2 of E3. And hopefully, like I said, today, which is Thursday, we'll try and get out to. We're gonna try and hit up Capcom. We're gonna try and hit up Nintendo, and we're gonna try and see. We're gonna try and hit Activision. We'll see what else we can get for you. So until then, stay tuned and thanks for watching. And from Los Angeles at E3, I'm Ray Carsillo.